Hello, everyone. Hope you all been well. Today on Ghost Travelers podcast, we're talking with Michale Hess. Michael is a local author here in Clark County, Virginia. We're going to be talking to Michael about his book called The Hauntings of Clark County, Virginia. And also, we're going to talk to Michael about how he got into the paranormal field as well. So please join us on this journey with Michael. Michael, thank you for coming on Ghost Travelers podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. If you could, can you tell my listeners and new listeners a little bit about you and how you got into the paranormal field?
My wife grew up in Clark County, Virginia, and I lived in the Shenandoah Valley for 15 years or whatever. And ghost stories, paranormal type things have always just been kind of something I'm interested in. And there was just a lot of strange stories she would tell me, and people I know that grew up around there and told me about. And I just decided to write a book. I pitched it to the history press folks, and they thought it sounded like a good idea for a book, and here we are.
So, what story did she tell you that really sparked your interest about writing the history and the hauntings of Clark County?
Well, there's one thing that really stood out to me was her family. They had a house in Berryville, but it wasn't one of the old like one of the real old historic houses, that's
Yeah.
100 years old. It was more probably 40 years old, something like that. I think it was built in the 60s. But there was just like all these weird stories that, that they would tell about that house, and um, you know, they would talk about it like so matter of factly. And I was like, I'm just thinking like, I would burn this place down, But they talk about just these, at a time when there were no pets in the home, right? They would hear like sound like a cat scratching, like at a door, or like a dog scratching. We're talking. It sounded like a dog, right? It's not like a little mouse in the
Yeah.
wall, nothing like that. And like one of the bedrooms, like like I guess my sister-in-law, right? She was like sleeping or laying down on the bed, and she could see like this depression like coming down on the mattress, and like a big puff of air, like how somebody will sit on the bed like when you're laying down.
Yeah, of course.
You'd have that, and like my niece, years ago, she would just have all these weird things happen in the basement. She'd be down there, just playing or roller skating on the unfinished side, and just all these weird things would happen with our radio and electronics, and the thing that really freaked me out, and like this is when I would have just like burned the house down, like their my wife's grandfather, he wasn't alive at the time, but years before he had caught like a big blue marlin, and had it mounted, and they said that like once in a while, like it would look like that fish would move, and one time even like blood. It looked like blood was dripping from its mouth, and kind of pulled up on the ground. So just a lot of weird stuff like that.
Well, that is kind of weird and also inspired to write a book. So, why is their house haunted even though they built it themselves?
Well, I don't know, but and of course, these are those things. There's absolutely no way that you could prove any of this stuff, right? But personally, and let me go back to one of the probably the freakiest thing was they would sometimes hear the sounds of like chains rattling, and Okay, so nobody in that family was like ever chained up in the house or nothing like that. It's kind of weird that that there was like that kind of sound coming from there. And of course, there's no way we could prove it or anything like that. But you kind of wonder, like Clark County, out of like all the counties in the valley, they probably had a larger slave population, and like where that house sits, used to be like an old orchard. I think there's like an old peach orchard, things like that. And you just kind of wonder if maybe, there was something kind of bad that might have happened right around there, dating back to those times, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. And before your in-laws purchased the grounds to build their house, did any kind of research back in the day to see if there was a house on the property that burnt down back in the Civil War era, and why you think that the house sits there today is haunted?
Yeah, no, as far as I know, they didn't really really look into it or anything like that. So I don't know, what the history there is. It's just, that's just the best guess that I could kind of come up with. But as far as actually looking into it real depth, I don't think anyone did. I think that they just kind of, accepted that it's kind of a weird house, and nothing malevolent ever really went on. It was more just kind of those freaky things that we talked about. It wasn't anything where anybody ever felt like they were, under any kind of, harm or anything like that. So I think they just kind of lived with it,
Yeah, most definitely. So your book of Hauntings of Clark County, Virginia. Can you tell us a little bit about it? How you start writing it?
Well, like I said, the things from my wife's family there, I put a little subsection in there about that. And what I did was I interviewed a whole lot of people, and mostly, since my wife grew up there, she already knew, just tons of people that had various stories and things like that, and so we just kind of got a lot of those stories together and just put them in the book. I can't remember exactly how many different people we ended up interviewing, but there were a lot, and so I put some sections in there on some of the historic homes, some haunted back roads, I guess, type of stories. Some various things from around Berryville, and just kind of mixed it up like that. I think there's like 10 chapters with with little subsections from people's stories.
So when you were writing your book, what was your process like of choosing these towns in Clark County, and why you picked those towns?
Well, I think what I did, with the publisher, you've got like kind of like a range for your word count and stuff like that. So, some things I left out that probably could have been included in there. But, I just kind of picked what I thought what I thought to me were the most interesting stories, and just kind of went from there. Like I said, there's a mix. There's like some of the old historic homes, like such as Carter Hall. You got tales from there that had been written about as early as, like the early 1900s. And so I included like some of that classic stuff, but also put some more contemporary things in there. And, maybe some of the, a few of the like lesser known things, and I just kind of tried to mix it up to keep it kind of interesting.
Yeah, most definitely. So, what towns did you put in the book that you thought of was really haunted to put in?
Well, let's see. So, obviously, like in Berryville, there's a lot of different things in Berryville. Um, let's see. You got the Battletown Inn in town. That one, there's just like a ton of stories from there, and I put the story of a lady who used to work there. I think she was a teenager who used to work there, and put some of her some of the weird things that she saw when she was working there. She saw a like a lady in a white dress, and down in the basement. I think used to serve like as a field hospital during the Civil War, and she had just a really vivid encounter down there about kind of like how she what am I trying to say? Has she like felt like the anguish and things, I guess, from that previous time. And also in Berryville, you got the Rosemont, the beautiful home, just on the outskirts of Berryville to the west, and people there have seen these phantom soldiers going back and forth. That site was occupied during the Civil War, and there's a lot of tales from inside the home that I put in the book, and so Berryville really has a lot of just weird things with the historic homes, but also there's even a tale like from a warehouse in Berryville of like a ghostly figure wearing a hoodie. So obviously that would be more from contemporary times.
Yeah, most definitely. And you put in your book also the town of Winchester. Um, can you tell us a little bit of locations in Winchester that you put in your book?
Well, in this one, I think I just briefly touched on one of the homes in Winchester, but in the book, I confine most of the stuff to just Clark County for the most part. The town in Winchester, or the home in Winchester. I think I put in there because it kind of traced back to Daniel Morgan, a historic figure from the area, who in the book the home that he lived in Clark County supposedly had these underground passages and a couple things like that I mentioned.
Yeah, most definitely. For a short amount of time that we have left together, since you're on a time crunch, can you tell us one of your most favorite stories that you put in the book for us? Like just one, or maybe two?
Yeah, so let's see here. Okay, so I think my favorite story from the book, and let me think here. That would be. I'm trying to think. That would be. I think this would have been in the haunted backroads chapter, I think. But anyway, there was this lady that shared this story, and I'm trying to remember here. But her mom, I think they were out like going to some yard sales or something like that, and or maybe it was an estate sale. But anyway, there was this home that they visited. Real nice old historic home on a nice on a nice plot of land, and her mom was talking to the guy that was running the sale, and so she was asking, why would you want to sell this place and leave this place? And he told these stories of these just things that were happening in the home. It started out with him noticing he had like a nice oriental rug, and he kept noticing this stain, in the rug. And he took it to the cleaner, and while the rug was gone, the stain, this substance was appearing on the floor, like every morning, like a rust-colored substance, and he would, try to clean it up, but it would always just keep coming through. And long story short, he did some research on the home, and like many of the homes in the area, it had been used as like a makeshift field hospital during the Civil War. And that particular room had been, where they performed surgeries and amputations and things. So, one morning he gets up to write in his diary, and he turns it to the next page. And anyway, there was this letter written, and it said something along the lines of, "I need to find my leg." And so with that, he just kind of like, all right, that's it. I'm selling. I'm out of here. And and then he talked about seeing like phantom horses and things like that in the barn, and seeing ghostly figures and things like that. That to me, and I'm kind of butchering the story. You really need to read the book to to get the feel for what I'm saying there. But that one was really one of my was one of my favorite stories. And another one that I really like. This was over near where's it at? Over near Boyce, I think. And yeah, this woman kept seeing this little this a childlike apparition, and her daughter. So they were out at a restaurant, and her daughter had brought home a balloon, from a restaurant, and the balloon went missing, and they went, like looking for it, never could find it, and like the next day, she saw the apparition of this little boy like holding that balloon, and it just kind of like sent chills down my spine and freaked me out. And like I said, these stories are much better told in the book, but that's just kind of a taste of it.
Yeah, most definitely. So, when you interview these people and put them in your book, do you go out personally yourself to investigate these locations yourself before you, and also put your own personal experience that saying, "Hey, I investigated these locations"?
Some yes and some no. Like the rug story I just told you about, and the balloon story. These are places that I'm like the balloon story. The lady doesn't even live in the house anymore, and so those aren't really things that you can investigate. But some of the places. I have been to, and I don't know how much of like an investigation I really do. I'm not really one of the ghost hunters like on TV that has all this fancy equipment and this and that. But I have visited a great many of the places in the book, and at least in a couple of them, I talk about some of my own experiences. Like there's a little church, Ebenezer Church, in the book, and I give my accounts at my own personal experience there.
Very nice. For somebody would like to purchase your book or your other books that you've written in the past, do you have like a website or anything that they can go to?
The best thing is just go to Amazon or the home in Clark County. A lot of your local bookstores, in Clark and in Winchester, that you can find them in a lot of your local places. But you can always just order it from Amazon or Barnes and Noble.
Awesome. And the links that you just mentioned, I'll put in the bottom of the description of this podcast for my listeners and new listeners can find your books and stuff like that a lot easier.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, most definitely. Do you have any also do you have like a new book coming out or events coming up?
No, I'm kind of on a hiatus at the moment.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Well, Michael, I'd like to say thank you for coming on the Ghost Travelers podcast today. Well, everyone, I would like to say thank you for listening and take care and travel safe. I would like to say thank you to Michael for coming on the Ghost Travelers podcast today. If you like this episode of Ghost Travelers podcast, please consider on hitting that subscribe button for new episodes on every other Friday for now. Thank you for listening. This is your host, PJ, for Ghost Travelers podcast. Take care and travel safe.